world learned later, made several half-hearted suicide attempts. Charles, on the other hand, never gave up a long-standing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, an old flame who had married someone else. As the story began to come out, it whetted the appetite of the world media. The royal couple had to deal with their private problems in the full glare of publicity. By the early 1990s, it was all over. Prime Minister John Major announced in Parliament that Charles and Diana were separating.
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that, with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
It was not an amicable separation, and the divorce that eventually followed was a messy one. Both Diana and Charles made their private disputes public through the books and articles they inspired. They even went on television in public confessions of infidelity that by now surprised no one. Charles took up housekeeping with Camilla, who had become, to all intents and purposes, the official royal mistress. Friends say he hopes to marry her. Diana remained highly popular with the public, but at one point she announced she was cutting down her activities and leaving public life.
At the end of this year, when I've completed my diary of official engagements, I will be reducing the extent of the public life I've led so far.
That, of course, was wishful thinking. Diana became even more of a media star as she threw herself into a wide range of good causes. One of the latest was the campaign to ban landmines. She went to Angola and saw for herself.
The best way to clear the mine is to dig a trench and simply scrape it away. And this chap here is using his probe to feel in, to see if there's anything there. When he's sure there's nothing there, he starts scraping away the soil.
Millimetre at a time, inch by inch.
You can see how...
Just a few weeks ago, she went to see more landmine victims in Bosnia. This was the compassionate side of her that she wanted to be remembered. For a French newspaper interview, she chose a picture of herself that made her look almost saintly. But privately, she was lonely and increasingly isolated from the royal family. Over the years, she sought the companionship of a number of handsome young men. Dodi Al-Fayed was the latest. There were even hints she had at last found happiness with this playboy who had had a long string of girlfriends. There were, as always, pictures to prove it. Pictures that earned millions for the paparazzi. Now the paparazzi have had their last pictures of Diana. It is not likely that many of them will be invited to her funeral.
We'll have the photographers who relentlessly pursue the famous in hopes of snapping a photo or two they can peddle to the highest bidder. Martha Teichner now on the paparazzi and their years-long pursuit of Princess Diana.
How ironic. Diana's public life began and ended the same way, with the paparazzi in pursuit. From the minute her name was mentioned, even as the possible choice of Prince Charles to be his wife, to be the future queen, the shy kindergarten teacher began running away.
Okay.
Thank you. That's enough.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we have a nice picture, please?
And so it continued.
Mom, please. Sure.
And yet, these same paparazzi made her the star she became. No other member of the royal family held their attention the same way. She grew into the glamour. She caught on, figured out that her stunning clothes, her beauty, her ever so slightly coquettish glances were the fast track to the attention, to the approval she felt she wasn't getting in her marriage. For a while, what the public saw appeared to be the royal couple on a roll. Everything seemed to work to their advantage. Reporters and photographers, I among them, huddled in a nasty cold rain for days outside the hospital where Prince William was born. Just before the princess emerged, the sun came out and shone down brilliantly on the future king and his mother, perfect for pictures. But Diana learned soon enough that the coin had its flip side. On the one hand, she needed the press. On the other, she became the object of a non-stop photographic feeding frenzy. Photographer Mark Saunders followed her everywhere, even the gym.
She said, "Who do you sell your pictures to?" And I said, "I sell them to anyone." And she said, "Yeah, lines the wallet well, though, don't they?" And I said, "Well, yes, but, you know, it is still just a job." And I asked if I could take a picture of her. And she said, "A picture of me now? No, I don't think so." And I said, "Oh, well, make me a few bob." And she said, "Well, how would you like me then?" And I said, "Well, topless would be nice." And she laughed and said, "Yes, that would be nice."
The pressure got to her. In 1992, Princess Diana decided to take a year off from her public duties.
I hope you can find it in your hearts to understand and to give me the time and space that has been lacking in recent years.
She may have taken time off, but the paparazzi didn't. If she couldn't protect herself, Diana tried at least to protect her children. She learned a trick. No face, no photo. But watch, she still manages to bend down and accept flowers from a child. The trouble with her determination to escape the paparazzi was that Diana herself forever fed the beast. Her personal problems, her bulimia, the collapse of her marriage, her affairs, all kept them after her, especially her affairs. Journalist Richard Kay.
Any man who gets involved with the Princess of Wales has got to be prepared for the most astonishing intrusions in his life.
Dodi Fayed was. He was Hollywood, a movie producer. He was also a man with a reputation for loving and leaving beautiful, high-profile women, for seeking the limelight. There was a certain Jackie Onassis quality to the romance between Dodi Fayed and Diana. Perhaps their relationship was literally an accident waiting to happen. Diana's brother, Earl Spencer.
It would appear that every proprietor and editor of every publication that has paid for intrusive and exploitative photographs of her, encouraging greedy and ruthless individuals to risk everything in pursuit of Diana's image, has blood on his hands today.
Now that Diana, Princess of Wales, is dead, she seems more than ever like a beautiful, sad butterfly who flew ever so briefly into the light and was burned.
You press that killed her.
Even as the world condemns the paparazzi who may have contributed to her death, they're out there, snapping away at what's left.
News of the death of Princess Diana has stunned the British people who had already been struggling with the concept of a divorced Princess of Wales, a situation for which there was no precedent. Dr. David Starkey is an authority on the British Constitution and the role of the royal family, and he joins us now live from London. Dr. Starkey, good morning.
Hello.
Sir, was Princess Diana still technically a princess?
She was a princess. What she wasn't was Her Royal Highness. The term Royal Highness actually defines the inner circle of the royal family. And when she was divorced from Prince Charles, she ceased to be a Royal Highness. That means there's incredible confusion about her status. If you'd rung Buckingham Palace yesterday and said, "Is she royal?" you'd have spoken to 4 people, and none of them would have quite known the answer.
Is this a consideration in making the plans for a funeral now?
I think it's of great consideration. Nobody actually knows what the rules are. Diana spent the whole of her life breaking rules. Now she's dead. We don't actually know what to do with her. I think there are very powerful signals. The fact that Prince Charles has gone to Paris to bring her body back means that her status as royal, as more than royal, is actually being recognized. I think we will actually see a kind of state funeral. Whether or not she will be buried at Frogmore in the Royal Mausoleum, that's a different matter. There will have to be discussions between her family, the Spencers, and the Windsors, and that will be a private matter for a private decision.
So the decision is not then made by authorities, but by the families?
I think the two families will have to talk to each other. What is clear here, you've seen the reaction. The people made Diana royal. The people will demand a royal funeral. and if they aren't given one, they'll turn a funeral into a kind of state occasion.
Dr. Starkey, what does this do now? There was some ambiguity in the arrangements that had been made at the time of the divorce. Does this cut through all of that now? Is all of that moot? And what is the situation technically now with respect to succession and all of that?
No, there's never been any doubt about the succession. The succession was not touched by the divorce. Charles remains the heir, Prince William remains his heir. That was never in doubt. What was in doubt was whether or not popular opinion would accept Charles. That's not a constitutional matter, that's a political matter. We have a monarchy which is a constitutional monarchy in a democracy. We're as much bound by popular opinion as you are. If Prince Charles fails to carry popular opinion with him, either he will go or the monarchy will go.
Would it have been possible now, even had Diana not died, would it have been possible for the prince to remarry?
The question of the remarriage of the Prince of Wales is a very simple one. In theory, he could marry Camilla tomorrow. In practice, popular opinion wouldn't wear it. And that's a great problem. In theory, of course, Charles is now freer than ever to marry Camilla. In practice, he's more absolutely bound by popular opinion. I think, actually, if he married her tomorrow, there would be riots in the street, and you would see crowds swarming into this building.
It's been suggested already on this broadcast, Dr. Starkey, that one of the things, perhaps, that the prince resented about Diana was that she did seem so popular, in fact, more popular than he.
I think that's true. I mean, Diana was something different. Diana was something that's never lived in this palace before. She was a star. We're wasting our time talking about her as merely being royal. Royals are two a penny. Diana is a world star. And now she's died prematurely. She's up there in a heaven somewhere with James Dean, Marilyn Monroe, and Princess Grace, and Jack Kennedy. She's all those rolled into one. She's the biggest thing since Evita. Unlike Evita, she's real.
Dr. Starkey, thank you. We will leave it there. Veteran correspondents Martha Teichner and Anthony Mason reflect on Princess Diana's death when Sunday Morning continues.
Tragic end in Paris car crash as photographers give chase. Full details of the tragedy tomorrow on this complete coverage of the tragic event tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
For more than 16 years, Princess Diana has been a constant presence. It's no exaggeration to say that she was the most photographed woman in the world and the most talked about, certainly. The news this morning of her death in a car crash in Paris has shocked and saddened people, not just in Britain and in America, but all parts of the world. Correspondents Martha Teichner and Anthony Mason have both covered Princess Diana over the years, and they join us now. Folks, you heard what David Starkey just said. He talked about Diana as a superstar, John Kennedy and Marilyn Monroe and 3 or 4 other people all wrapped into one. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
I think you have to. I think he raised the most interesting question that's going to come up, which is I think a lot of other people know where to put Diana in this spectrum, but I think the royal family may not know where to put her at this point, and which means, you know, what kind of funeral do you have for someone who really has transcended what they brought her into?
Where do you bury her?
Where do you bury her?
She's become actually bigger than the royals themselves, in a sense.
I think that's absolutely true. I really do.
Bigger than the Queen, you think?
Yes, I'm convinced that when the Queen dies, there will not be the reaction. I mean, there will be a national outpouring, but I don't think it'll be as significant as this, because Diana has a different kind of place in world society.
Why was that? Is it because of the grace that she had, because she seemed such a natural? The camera, obviously, sad to say, the camera loved her and did hound her to death, but she just looked like the kind of person that you would like to know.
I think there's absolutely truth in that. But one of the things I've been, as many of us have been up all night, watching coverage from Britain and reading everything that's been coming through. The one thing that I've heard, and I've experienced firsthand, is when she walked into a room, it was electric. It was not something the camera made up. It was a physical presence as well. And the camera caught it. And the combination of that is so rare that a person who is so real and alive when she walks in a room also is real and alive on camera. And that is why she grew to be as big as she did.
What's interesting to me is that she didn't have to say a word, and often mumble just a few kind of inconsequential social statements for ribbon cuttings and so on. I met her once at a social function, and again, you know, she had the sideways look and the posture and the clothes, and that's all it took. There was just something so charismatic about her presence. I've met Prince Charles. He's not charismatic. He's a wonderful conversationalist. He works a room better than any politician I've ever seen, but he doesn't have it.
It's too bad, isn't it, that their personal relationship made it impossible, or at least in effect, for Prince Charles anyway, he could not use her as the tremendous asset that she would have been for him.
But he didn't marry a person. He married an idea of the appropriate wife for the future king. And then she grew up and became a human being and became the person that the world saw, partly because of the tribulations that she experienced in her profession, as it were, as the Princess of Wales.
You both covered the wedding, did you not?
I did.
I know, I was not there.
There is something that happened. In fact, there was a little snippet that we've already had on the air there at the time of the wedding, where someone asked about love, and she said, of course, and he said, yes, whatever love is.